What happened today was not planned, not staged, and certainly not designed to become one of the most emotionally explosive moments the entertainment world has witnessed this year. Yet, in just a few unguarded seconds, Sukai did what fans have waited years to see. He crossed the invisible line between speculation and confirmation, and when the words left his mouth, there was no pulling them back, because they were spoken naturally, softly, and with the kind of comfort that only comes from truth. As a private behind-the-scenes clip from a Beijing gathering quietly surfaced online and revealed Sukai responding to a casual question about whether Tan Songyun would appear later, and instead of deflecting, joking, or dodging as most celebrities instinctively do, he smiled and said, without hesitation or self-correction, "She will come. She is my girl." A phrase so simple yet so powerful that it instantly shattered years of denials, silence, and carefully managed distance, igniting social media like a match dropped into dry grass as fans froze, replayed the clip repeatedly, and realized this was not a slip of the tongue but a moment of emotional honesty spoken as if no one was listening, because his tone carried warmth rather than shock, familiarity rather than surprise, and ease rather than performance. And what made the moment even more convincing was what did not happen afterward. Sukai did not panic, did not clarify, did not issue an immediate denial, and did not try to reframe the narrative, allowing the silence to speak louder than any statement ever could, as reactions poured in from fans across the world who described shaking hands, tears forming instantly, and the overwhelming feeling that something long suspected had finally stepped into the light, especially those who had followed Sukai and Tan Songyun since their earliest collaborations, watching their off-screen closeness mirror something far deeper than scripted chemistry, remembering countless small moments that once felt like coincidence, but now seemed like breadcrumbs leading to this exact point, from his protective gestures during crowded events to her quiet smiles when his name surfaced unexpectedly, from interviews where words like habit and comfort slipped into her answers to his tendency to relax visibly when she was nearby, all of which once lived in the realm of fan intuition, but suddenly felt validated by one unfiltered sentence, and when Tan Songyun later appeared at her own engagement that day and was asked whether she had seen anything trending online, her response, soft, shy, and notably free of denial, only added fuel to the fire as she smiled, lowered her gaze, and admitted she had heard something interesting. A reaction so gentle yet telling that fans immediately understood this was not a misunderstanding to be corrected, but a reality being protected, and the story deepened further when Sukai Studio responded not with a firm rejection but with a carefully worded statement urging fans not to overinterpret natural interactions, a phrase that industry observers quickly recognized as a quiet admission rather than a shield. Because in an industry where rumors are extinguished within minutes if untrue, this deliberate restraint spoke volumes, and when Sukai later faced reporters on the red carpet that evening and was directly asked about calling Tan Songyun his girl, he did not retreat into scripted answers but instead paused, smiled, and said that some feelings grow naturally and do not require complicated explanations, a response so calm and grounded that the crowd visibly stilled, because this was not the voice of someone cornered but of someone settled. Someone who had already accepted the weight of what he had said and chosen not to run from it, prompting fans to flood timelines with messages of pride, relief, and emotional release as Tan Songyun later posted a simple photo captioned with gratitude for the day, her expression glowing with a warmth that words could not disguise, and insiders soon confirmed what fans had long suspected, that the two had grown increasingly close over the past year through overlapping schedules, private gatherings with trusted friends, and long conversations about life and work far away from cameras, building something real in silence until it reached a point where hiding felt unnecessary, and as fellow actors and producers subtly acknowledged the moment through likes and supportive comments, it became clear that those closest to them had known for some time that this bond was genuine, leaving the public to finally catch up. And what makes this moment resonate so deeply is not just the confirmation itself, but the way it unfolded. Not as a dramatic announcement, not as a calculated reveal, but as a quiet truth slipping out when guardrails were down, reminding everyone why audiences crave authenticity in an industry built on illusion. And as discussions continue, and fans wait for what comes next, one thing is certain: this was not the end of the story, but the beginning of a new chapter written not in press releases, but in real emotion. And yet the ripple effects of that chapter are already spreading far beyond a single clip or a single sentence, because what people are truly reacting to is the feeling that something rare has been witnessed in real time. A moment where fame loosened its grip just enough to let sincerity slip through, prompting countless conversations about how difficult it is for public figures to protect something as fragile as genuine affection under constant scrutiny. And many longtime followers pointed out that Sukai's expression in that clip was not triumphant or performative, but peaceful, almost absent-minded, as if referring to Tan Songyun as his girl was not an announcement but a habit. The kind of language one uses only in spaces where the heart feels safe, and this detail alone caused fans to rewatch the footage, frame by frame, noting how his shoulders were relaxed, how his eyes softened rather than sharpened, and how there was no trace of calculation in his body language, reinforcing the belief that this was not a crafted moment but an emotional reflex. And the more people analyzed it, the more the narrative shifted from shock to acceptance, from disbelief to quiet happiness, as fans began sharing personal stories about how love often reveals itself not through grand gestures, but through the smallest, most unconscious choices of words, and within hours the discussion expanded beyond fandom spaces into mainstream commentary, with observers noting that this kind of understated confirmation felt refreshing in an era where celebrity relationships are often announced through coordinated posts, synchronized captions, and carefully negotiated exclusives. While here the most powerful statement was the absence of spectacle, the refusal to dramatize something that clearly felt normal to the people involved, and this contrast only heightened public respect for both Sukai and Tan Songyun, painting them not as figures chasing attention, but as individuals quietly choosing honesty over control. And as the day unfolded, old interviews resurfaced and took on new meaning, lines that once seemed vague now sounding almost confessional in hindsight, with fans compiling montages of moments where Sukai's gaze lingered just a second longer than necessary or where Tan Songyun instinctively turned toward him in group settings, details that once sparked debate now being revisited with a sense of emotional closure, as if a puzzle that had been scattered for years suddenly clicked into place, and industry insiders weighed in discreetly, noting that long-term partnerships often begin exactly this way, nurtured in private until they reach a level of stability that no longer requires constant defense, and this perspective resonated with many viewers who expressed relief that if this relationship is real, it has been allowed to grow away from the destructive pressure of constant exposure, giving it a chance to be rooted in mutual respect rather than public expectation. And what struck people most deeply was the absence of fear in Sukai's response later that evening, because fear is often the defining emotion when celebrities are confronted with personal questions, yet his calm suggested acceptance rather than anxiety. A quiet readiness to let the world know only what it needed to know, no more and no less, and Tan Songyun's approach mirrored this restraint perfectly, offering gratitude instead of explanation, warmth instead of clarification, trusting that those who understood would understand without words. And as night fell and the initial frenzy softened into reflection, many fans wrote that they felt oddly comforted by the moment, as if witnessing something sincere had reminded them that real connection can still exist beneath layers of performance, and this emotional resonance explains why the clip continues to circulate. Not as scandal, but as celebration, not as controversy, but as affirmation, because it speaks to a universal longing to see authenticity rewarded rather than punished, and while questions naturally remain about what comes next, whether the two will ever address the relationship directly or continue letting actions speak for them, the consensus seems to be that whatever path they choose will be met with understanding, because they have already shown that their priority is not narrative control, but emotional truth, and that alone has earned them a level of respect that no official announcement could manufacture, making this moment linger not as a fleeting headline, but as a quiet benchmark for how intimacy can exist even in the harsh glare of fame. And as fans continue to share, discuss, and relive these few seconds that changed everything, the story grows not louder but deeper, evolving from shock into something more meaningful, a shared understanding that sometimes the most powerful confirmations are the ones that arrive without warning, without preparation, and without the need for repetition. And if this unfolding chapter has drawn you in, if it made you pause, smile, or feel that unexpected warmth in your chest, stay with us as we continue to follow every subtle development, every quiet sign, and every honest moment as it appears. Thank you for being part of this conversation, and don't forget to subscribe to 24H News. TM. Share your thoughts below, and let us know how this revelation made you feel in the comments.